About now. Is there an echo still? Because not quite sure what's happening here. Um, but I'm going to try and fix this. Yep, my headphones are off. Better? Am I still echoing? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. I'm going to show, well, I just want to make sure I'm not echoing anymore. Am I still echoing? Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to go on from here, and this might hopefully be better. I'm not quite sure what the issue was. I had to run a new pair of headphones. That might have been it, but I'm going to go through what we need to go through today. Just to go back, I'm sorry about the network issues in the beginning. Here at BPS Tech, we specialize in technology. Sometimes we have issues of our own that we can't solve. So, and the network being one of them, unfortunately, went down right before we started today. Okay, so here we go. This is what you should be seeing in your. You should be seeing session 9 webinar. The YouTube link is here. If you ever want to go back to edit and review any of the things that we went over today. And let's see. And our today's meet link is coding sampler number 9. Today'smeet.com/coding sampler number 9. Welcome, Angie. Welcome to everybody who's here. Today's going to be it's going to be a combination blended type of class today that we're doing. And so you're going to see some stuff that we've done already for our code, but we're also going to be doing some stuff together as well. So again, this is session number 9. This is HTML and CSS. And again, yeah, we do have a couple things that we'd like you to do. First one is an exit ticket. And then we'd also like you to continue with some of the assignments that we're actually going to start today. One of them is the screenshot, as we need screenshots from the HTML CSS Code Academy completed website. So you'll see what you need to do. As we just essentially all we want you to do is take screenshots of the last stage for the HTML basics and build your own web page lessons in Code Academy, and I'll show you exactly what you need to do for that. If that sounds like gibberish to you right now, don't worry. I'm going to go through exactly what you need to do for next week. Let's see. We also have two very, very good websites and tutorial pages, tutorial sites to learn HTML, and one of them is we're going to be using today. One is Code Academy and Khan Academy as well. Both great, both very good. I prefer Code Academy, but some others prefer Khan Academy. Again, whatever your vote comes to this. You choose. But today we're going to be going through Code Academy. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to first start with a video. Now, you're welcome to follow along. Oh, I'm sorry. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the back channel. I'll be monitoring it while I put on this video for you to watch. So this video is going to go through some Code Academy activities. Now, I suggest that you do not try to follow along with your own computer. I suggest you just watch it from the very beginning because we've just found that this is a very effective way of learning coding and learning how to use computers, just to watch it first and let it really sink in. Again, you're welcome to follow along if you'd like, but this activity is meant for you just to watch. It's less of a tutorial, more of just a lesson on how to use Khan Academy and how to build your own websites out. After that, we're both going to go into Code Academy together, and we'll start you off on some of the assignments that you need to have completed for this session. And then we'll leave you to that, and then we'll let you go after that. Okay, so we might end a little earlier today, depending how far along we get. And but again, if you have any questions or have any comments, please go ahead and leave them in the Today's Meet, which is at the Today's Meet back channel, which is today'smeet.com/C coding sampler S 9. Again, today'smeet.com/coding sampler 9. Okay, thank you so much. And here we go. Oh, not that one. the way through middle and through high school. So primarily what HTML is short acronym for Hypertext Markup Language. And what happens is, one second, I'm going to flip this. Just give me 1 second. There we go. I think I solved the problem right there for the echoing. Hypertext markup language is a language that's actually used in making websites. What it actually is the code that's written to display the website. So what we see here, what you see in front of you is not actually what you see in the background. What you see right now in front of you on your screen in terms of my slide is what's called the front end. Right? That's what the people who are using the computer, that's what they see on their screen. And the front end is again, designed for what the user sees, but it's what... can everybody see? Yes, 1 second. Thank you, Haruna, for reminding me. I'm going to share the screen. For some reason, again, it booted me off, so I'm going to start my screen share one more time. I'm going to reset it again. We're about a minute behind, but I'm going to go ahead and do it again for you. Through high school. So primarily what HTML is, again, HTML is short, it's an acronym for Hypertext Markup Language. And what happens is Hypertext Markup Language is a language that's actually used in making websites. What it actually is the code that's written to display the website. So what we see here, what you see in front of you is not actually what you see in the background. What you see right now in front of you on your screen in terms of my slide is what's called the front end. Right? That's what the people who are using the computer, that's what they see on their screen. And the front end is again, designed for what the user sees, but it's what HTML is actually the code that's used on the back end, right, isn't it? So I'm going to show you what that looks like through here. So again, this is the front end. This is what people see when they see, this is the front end of HTML. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to right click on one over, for example, this aspect. And I'm going to go into my menu and I'm going to go into inspect element. And here you're going to see both the front end and the back end. So you see on the left side right here, again, this is the front end. And on the right side, if you look up here, the part elements right here, this is all HTML. This is all coding right here that people have typed in, and actually what the web service has typed in. But this is all the code that's needed to display this part of the website. Again, this is your left side is your front end, and your right side over here is your back end. And even right here down here's some HTML in here as well. So again, front end, back end. This is the actual HTML, and this is the actual user interface of front end. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close that out. And again, I got there by going to a website and right-clicking through Chrome. Please use Chrome if you're going to do this tutorial with us. Please open. Chrome is the easiest to use, and it's what we're going to be focusing on. In Safari, there isn't the inspect element right-click option, nor is there one in Mozilla or Firefox. So the best bet to go through this tutorial is to go through Chrome. There are a lot of different ways that you can have make your own site, your own website. And HTML is not necessarily something that you need in order to make your own site. As a BPS teacher, you already have access to many free website making through your Google Apps application. So if I go here and I go through my BPS apps launcher, you can see that if I click on my sites through the apps launcher, you can create your own site using your Google account. And you don't need HTML in order to do this. You can also go to Wix.com, and they provide free web hosting services, and their website construction is very easy to use, point and click and drag and drop. You can also go to Wikispaces, another way you can do it. So these are all free web construction sites, and they're easy drag and drop, point click type of websites. You don't need to know HTML in order to do them. However, if you want your own domain name in your subdomain, so for example, if you want to, instead of having, www.wix.whatever, blah, 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 whatever you want, and you just want to have www.myfavoritesite or whatever domain name you'd like, it gets a little bit more complicated. Okay, so what happens when you do something like that is, and you want to completely construct your own site with no templates or anything like that, you just want to use your own HTML and build a website space or website from scratch. This usually means buying some sort of online service or through some sort of web hosting service. Like for example, you go through GoDaddy.com. You can see right here, web hosting services for $4.99 a month. You can come with your own domain name for $2.99 a month. And this is where the big, the really strong web developers, the ones who have strong skills, and this is where they go to make their own websites completely from scratch. But we're teachers, we're not web developers. So, this is not something that we're really stressing that you do or want you to do. And this is not what we're going to be doing tonight. And furthermore, if you were going to do this, if you're going to make something from your own from scratch from HTML, you would also need a HTML editor. And one way to, and there are many different free editors you can use from. Some you can use. One of the best is Firebug on Firebug, which is done through Mozilla or Firefox, and you add it on to your Firefox browser, and you do your HTML editing through there. But again, this is not something that we're going to do today. This is just something to let you know that this is what's out there. If you want to further your HTML skills past today, feel free to go ahead and continue with the tutorial that we're going to go on with today, because we're only going to do the intro section. And again, these two services that I offered, like GoDaddy.com and Firebug, and again, web hosting services and web editor and HTML editors, they're only for the people who are in the know, the people who work, for the most part, work in HTML for a living. This is not something that, we teachers, unless you're really good, we teachers have a lot of time to do on the side. So what we suggest is actually going to your BPS launcher and making your own website, just dragging and dropping. However, knowing some HTML is always good in this situation as well, because most easy, point and click web development services like Google Sites or Wix or Wikispaces, they all have an HTML editor inside them, so you can point and click and drag and drop and type, but you can also look on the back end of what you're doing. You can actually look at the code as well, and that's why I think it's a pretty interesting thing good thing to know in terms of your own web design, because sometimes you can't do something through the regular drag and drop process. You have to go into the code to fix it. But again, for all intents and purposes, as teachers, one of our best bets to make our own websites, or to have our students make their own websites, or even their own digital portfolios, or their own spaces to compile their work, or compile resources. Just basic Google Sites is good. WordPress is good. Wix is good, and some of the other web services that I mentioned, construction services. So we're going to go ahead and go through this. So I asked all of you who are watching to please, I asked all of you watching to have gone to codeacademy.com to register and to just to register. And then I told you that we're going to do the tutorial together. And that's where we're going to start right now. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my tutorial section. And for this section, I'm going to jump back into Safari, but again, please use Chrome. I actually have it in Chrome, so don't worry about it. Yes, please use Chrome. I thought I put the Chrome. I thought I put Code Academy in my Safari, but it's actually in my Chrome. So yes, just feel free to use. So this way it won't be so confusing. Please go to your section. I know it's going to say, please go to the build your own website module. It's going to show up right now. It's going to say that there's a certain percentage of mine done already, and because I've done it already. But I'm going to start from the beginning. So please go to make a website module, and it should say build a recent version of Airbnb's homepage and learn the fundamentals of web development in the process. Yours will say 0. It'll just say start. I know mine says 22% because I've worked through it before, but I'm starting over to show you what needs to be done. And right here, it's going to say HTML and HTML plus CSS. You're going to want to make sure that this says HTML on your left. So the intro. Web pages are created using HTML and CSS. What do these languages do? So again, HTML, hypertext modeling markup language, is an actual code language, and CSS stands for cascading style sheets. They're both used in web production. However, HTML is the more integral aspect of it, of web development, because it deals more with the text. The CSS deals more with the layout and the design of the site, not necessarily the content per se. So today we're going to be using, we're going to be working on the basics. Come here, go down here to got it, click on check. So the first thing you need to know is that in HTML, there are certain parts, what are called tags or elements, just like I showed inspect element in Chrome feature. When I double click on this, for example, inspect element comes up, because that's why what it's doing. It's inspecting the different elements within the website or the web page. And so you can see HTML elements are the building blocks of web pages. The web page to the right is made up of a collection of HTML elements, and you can see them all right here. And each one is blue. Now, what they do is describe each piece of content on the page, so a web browser knows how to display it. So again, this shows what we see, and what the computer sees is what's called the backend, or the actual language, the actual HTML. Today we're going to cover the 5 most common HTML elements, and the first one being the heading element. So headings are described by heading element, and there are 6 levels of heading element, H1 to H6. Okay, so H1 usually means heading 1, and you can find headings within Microsoft Word, or you can find them within Google Docs and whatnot. And again, a heading is just, again, what it means, a heading. It's bold-faced letters that indicate the type of content that's going to usually exist underneath it. So the H1 element is used to describe the main heading of a page. Right, so H1, the main element of the entire page, is going to be described by H1. So you can see right here, opening tag and closing tag. So I'm going to go into tags really quickly here as well. So this is what's called a tag, and you can see the bracket, and you see what type of element it's going to be, and then you see a closing bracket, a closed bracket. Right? So again, open bracket, element, then close bracket. And then you have the closing tag, which is bracket, backslash, and then you have the element with another bracket. Right? Again, you have bracket, backslash, and the type of tag or the type of element, and then another closing bracket. Okay? So again, this is what the backend sees. So we're going to try it out now. Okay, we're going to change the text of the H1 element from find a place to stay to this is the main heading. Right? And so you can see right here, now you can see both the back end right here and the front end. So right here, find a place to stay. Right? You can tell this is the H1, this is the H1 right here. This is the heading, the main heading of the page. And you can see as I go lower, right, you'll see the rest of the page, but this section right here, this is actually the H1, and we can see because it's the largest, largest, most bold-faced text on the page. So change it. What Code Academy is asking us to do is to change the text of the H1 element from find a place to stay to this is the main heading. Okay, so go over here to my backend, to backend, and I'm going to go and change this. Delete. I'm going to do this is the main heading. So you can see I just typed those in. This is the backend, and this is what it looks like on the front end. So even though they don't look anything alike, the computer picks it up as this big writing, even though it's just small. So again, all of the code, all the HTML that you're going to see is going to be the same size. However, on the front end, it's going to look very different. Okay, so I'm going to go to our next section. So similar to a news article or a Word document, headings in a web page are usually followed by paragraphs. And paragraphs, ironically, are started with a P element tag or a P tag. So you can see right here. In HTML, paragraphs are described by paragraph elements, and again, they're P elements. Again, they're right here in the front and the back. And again, we have our opening element tag, which is a P, and our closed element tag. And again, this is what the front end is not going to see these tags. It's just going to see the text that's in between them. Okay, So it says below the H1 element, add a P element that says rent from people in over 34,000 cities and 192 countries. Okay, I'm gonna come here to my right, and I'm gonna start another line. I'm gonna go bracket, I'm gonna write P, I'm gonna bracket, and then I'm gonna write rent from people in over 34,000 cities and 192 countries. I'm gonna close again, just like I would do before, just like I did with the headings, just like I did up here. I gotta close my tag out, my element tag out. So I'm gonna click here, and then slash, sorry, and then P, and then bracket. And you can see how I added my paragraph text right on the bottom, right? Back end, front end. Now, the defining feature of the web is the presence of links, right? And so again, what we see, usually the links that we can click on within within an area of content is where, is one of the things that makes web pages so dynamic and websites so informational, is the ability to click onto other pages from a certain page. Again, this is done with links, right? So clicking on links leads to other web pages, and the A element is used to create links. Now, unfortunately, A has nothing to do with what the word link is. But an A element is similar to an H1 or P element, but has two key differences, right? So what usually happens is an A element links to what's called an href attribute, right? Element attribute. And the attribute's name is always followed by an equal sign. And then after that, you're going to have quotes, the attribute value being the actual website where it's going to link to, close bracket, and then the link text, right? And then right here, you're going to close your element off, your A element off, this section. Okay, so again, A, href, equals HTTPS, right? This is again the web address, and closed off with a bracket, into search, and then closed off with the A element again. Okay, so one functions just a little differently, but let's try it out. Okay, and again, you use the href element for the link and to link and the word that the link is attached to. So link and word that the link is attached to. Okay, so right here it's asking me first change the link address to https://airbnb.com/locations, then change the link text to learn more. Okay, so again right here it already has it written out for me. So again we have bracket A href equals the new quotes. Then after the quotes I'm going to put in https www.airbnb.com/locations. And then change the link text to learn more. So I'm going to go ahead, it's closed off here. So what I have to do now is that I have to type in learn more. As you can see on my front end, I've just made a link that attaches to this actual website. Okay, so it's all there. So I'm going to go ahead and press I got it. The fourth section I want to cover is the actual image. Is inserting an image into HTML or into the backend. The difficult thing to understand here is that you don't actually use an image within code, within HTML. HTML, there are no pictures or anything like that. It is all syntax. It is all words and numbers and slashes and whatnot. Okay, so there's no actual picture that you ever deal with in terms of using your code. You never see a picture within the code. It's always going to be syntax. So in addition to headings and paragraphs, the web page can have images, obviously. The IMG element is used to add images to a page. The image element is an attribute inside the opening bracket IMG bracket tag named SRC. The SRC attribute has the address of the image. So what happens in HTML, when you actually use an image, you have to use it from the internet. Okay, so if you're writing something from scratch and you need to you have to insert a picture somewhere, you have to actually have that picture on the internet somewhere. you can't just upload it from your local drive. Okay, you can, if you're using an editor on, for example, in Google Sites and whatnot, you still have to upload your picture into the Google into your Google Drive, and then it actually takes a picture from there and then inserts it into a IMG tag or an IMG element. Okay, so the SRC meaning source attribute has the address of the image. So let's go ahead and go to the next section and see what it has to do. So let's try it out. Okay, change the image address to HTTPS go.gl mbnqbl. Okay, so you can see it's different from here. So you can see right here the image source, right? This is the tag, this is the element, and this picture is the website right here. Right? So this website right here is this picture. So I have to change this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and change this out to this address right here. MBNQ. You can see Google already knew what picture that was, and you see how it changed it. Okay. So you can see this is how you change pictures in HTML code. IMG, SRC equals, and then the actual address of the picture that you want to use. So I'm going to go ahead and start it here. Now the next section is a UL and the LI section. So in addition to paragraphs and images, content can be presented in lists. In HTML, a bulleted list is described as a UL element. Each item in the list is placed inside an LI element. So you can see UL, this tag right here, essentially lets us know that the bulleted list is going to come out, and then the LI tag essentially just shows the bullet. Right? Again, you have your UL tag at the top, and you close it with another UL tag at the bottom. And you can see there's your slash again that closes you off. Again, slashes right here after the LI element. The bulleted, the bullet listing is closed here as well. So right now, the bulleted list comes up at the top as a navigational aspect of the front end. And you're going to see this change because like, this counts as a list in HTML. It can go down, up to down, or left to right. So first, it's going to ask me to change the LI element from brand to home. Change this out. And it also asks me to change browse to about. You can see they both change right here in this listing. You can see they both change again. This is a UL element, and these are the bullets that are within the UL element. And they're again opened. UL is started, a bulleted list is started with UL, and the bullet element, the actual bullets are started with an LI. Okay, now this next part is going to talk about the HTML element and the body element. Okay, now what happens in HTML is that all HTML has to be, when you're working on a website or a web page, every single page you're working on has to start with a doc type, right? And in doc type, this is usually just a reminder for whoever is working on it as to which type of HTML it is. And then the HTML tag. Now this starts and begins everything. So every type of HTML web page that you see will always begin with the HTML at the top, and will always close at the bottom with HTML. So after all the code that's written, sometimes hundreds of lines, you'll see an HTML close tag at the end. And you'll always see this at the beginning. Okay? Then under that, you'll have the body element, which contains the actual content of the web page. So everything nested inside body and inside the body tags shows up in the web browser. Okay, so after HTML, you're almost always going to see body as well somewhere. So again, these nest everything. Hundreds of lines of code usually go between these two types of elements, the HTML elements and the body elements. So again, the doc type is the start of the HTML file, tells the browser which version of HTML you're using. The doc type is not an HTML element, so it does have a closing tag. It doesn't have a closing tag. So this essentially, again, doc type tells the web author or the person who's using HTML what type of HTML is being used. Okay, but don't worry about that so much right now. We're just going over the basics. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and this is going to take us to our first actual back-end tutorial, and we're just going to we're going to stop it at this one here. We're going to stop it after we're done with this next activity. Okay, so say great job, yay, we did it. And we're going to go to the next section. We're just going to do the first one for this. Okay, and this is usually right here. This is this type of editor is usually the type of editor you'll see when you're editing via the web or using other type of web. You know, if you're using Firebug or you're using other types of web editors, this is essentially what you're going to see. You're always going to see numbers going down the side and all this different types of code. And I showed you in the inspect element section, part of the session, more towards the beginning. So we just learned about 5 HTML elements. Now let's see how to use them together to start creating the Airbnb web homepage. Let's start by adding a navigation menu to the page. This can be done by writing a UL element inside of the body element. Remember, everything starts with this HTML and body, and everything always closes with these two. Okay? A UL element describes a bulleted list. We talked about that already. Now, let's do what it tells us to do. On line 6, it says change the LA element to the text of your name. Right? Oh, and it just happens to be there already, but I'm going to go ahead and write it again. Okay. And on line 7, I'm going to go ahead and erase this as well. It's going to ask me to write in browse. Very super easy. All right. All you had to do was look for the bulleted list, just like we went over in the last section. And I'm just going to press save and submit code. And it was good. All right. It says way to go. But let's see. Let's mess it up and see what happens when it doesn't work. Let's put L, and let's just forget to write the I. Let's put no bracket here. So if you see this, when this comes up, do you see my code? How right here on the left, because I don't have a bracket and because I don't have an I in the back following the L, my code doesn't come through correctly. And so if I were to go full screen and check it out on the front end, because this is the front end here, so on the right side, this is what it's going to look like. That doesn't look right. So I'm going to go and press back right here. You can see it back here. So I'm going to go ahead and change this. I'm going to put my bracket. My I. You can see how it comes up correctly now. Save submit code, and I did it right. So we're going to go ahead and stop right there for a minute. I want to know, are there any questions on this part? I know there was a lot of content involved. I know that there's a lot. It's a lot to take in. But again, thinking about coding is thinking differently about the way we see things on a computer. We're essentially talking to the machine, and it's doing what we're telling it to do on the front end. I would like to go to check out the website that we just went to. Right? And I'm going to show you how to look at the HTML for example, on a simple construction website like Gcode, like Google Sites. Right? And again, everybody has access to Google Sites through their apps launcher. Again, which is in the corner. Here's your apps launcher, and you can see Sites is right here. So let's take a look at what kind of code I'm looking at right now. Of course, we can always go to the inspect element aspect of Google Chrome. And again, this isn't on Safari, and I don't believe it's on Firefox. So you can access this from anywhere on the web. Whenever you're surfing, all you have to do is right click, and again, this small menu will pop up, and inspect element is on there. So pop it open again. But this is one way to see what's been written. And I know it's a lot more than we went through. There's divs in there, and there's all these different XML parts. Don't worry about that. It's okay if it's overwhelming. This is just what it looks like when when Google is doing stuff for you too. This is a simple website, and what happens when you use these simple website construction services like Google Sites or like WordPress or Wix or Wikispaces is that most of the HTML is done for you. They still use HTML, but it's automated. And so what's happening is the computer is writing the HTML for you when you write things down and don't go through the HTML aspect. So every time you change something here on this side, it changes it for you over here. So it's still, these simple construction websites still use HTML, except that it's automated. Now, let's go ahead and get out of this aspect. Okay, we're going to get out of inspect element. We're going to go into sorry, we're going to go into my edit aspect, my edit options, I'm sorry. And we're going to go down and take a look at what's being done, right? Now, I can take a look, I can edit from here, I can type in here and do different things from here. And again, when I do this, the computer, the machine, I'm sorry, in Google is just writing for me in HTML, right? But if I wanted to, I can come up here to my toolbar at the top and click on, oh my God, what's right there? HTML. And I click on it. And here we can see everything that we've gone through already, right? So right here, I don't have an H1 heading, I have an H2 heading, right? And I can change this right here if I wanted to, but if I want to change it to H1, not much is happening, but it's just telling me that I'm just letting it know that I want that. The front end know that I want this to be the main title of the page, or the words that represent the page. So I can take a look at that, and it says, hello, welcome to my first website. So it looks a little bit different than it did before. It's a bit bigger, a little more pronounced, right? But if I go back and change it to H2, obviously, it's going to become smaller. And I'm going to go ahead and check that out. I'm going to preview it. And you can see it's become a little smaller. And you can see, oh, here is our paragraph tags again, right? And you can see here are some of the things that we have learned. We learned that the different elements, such as, you can't say those didn't come out that well. And these are tags that I essentially inserted into the text, and the HTML compiler or the HTML reader doesn't pick it up that well. And so, and we then had to link things, right? So if I look at this, you're going to see that this pops up. These texts. This text right here is going to show up as something different. H tags and P tags, right? And so it's sometimes HTML, Google wants to look it up and interprets it its own way and kind of messes up the content. But you can see this is my paragraph. This is my paragraph section, right? And these are initiated by P's. P, P, open P, close P, open P. Oh, and look what we have right here. We have an href. Remember what an href was? An href is yes, it is. It's a link. And link is, this is the actual link. This is the actual URL, which is tiny.cc/bpshoc2015. And remember, this links to the word here. So here is actually the linked word that goes to this website. And you can see right here in my preview that, oh, look, if I click here, it's going to take us to, oh, I guess this might be just running a little bit slow tonight. So let's, we'll check back on that a bit later. But this will obviously take us to tiny.cc/bpshoc2015 page. Okay, and let's go to the last part, the HTML part. And so right here, and the last section is our image tag, our image element. And again, our image element, the source of it is Google sites.google.com. This is the URL. And this is the logo that we've been using. It shows the style and the margin. Don't worry about this so much. All I wanted to show you was the actual URL code that needs to be used in order to display an image. An image source equal URL, and then we close it off at the end of the bracket. Right? And so watch what happens when I take away, for example, the RS. Oh, what happened? You can see how sensitive the code is and how everything has to be correct when you're doing code. That's why it takes so long to make websites. Oh, seems like something went right. Looks like it went away. So I'm going to go ahead and just press my back button. It's there again. And you can see that I go back into HTML, and you'll see that my image is back. So again, be careful when you are coding, because every little piece of text counts. And that's going to do it for our tutorial session. Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there. And I'm going to take you, I know that was kind of a little bit long, but it was a really thorough way to go about looking at the different ways you can use HTML and use it to create websites, and how dynamic the language can be. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to take you to, we're actually going to go to Code Academy, and we're going to start off there. And we're going to take you through a few of the different coding tutorials that they have there. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to start from here. I'm gonna apologize for the network. It's not running too well right now. And you know what? You can log in if you'd like. If you already have an account, then by all means, go ahead and log in. But we're just we're gonna start and go in on our own. And we're not gonna even make an account. We're just gonna go through some different HTML and CSS tutorials. And that's the great thing about Code Academy is that you do not need to have an account. Okay. So what I'm going to go through is we're going to start. Actually, I'm going to go through the other one. Excuse me. I'm going to go through. This one has me in already. The cool thing about Code Academy is even if you do start some activities and you don't even log in, it remembers you through cookies, through the cookies from web tracking. So it'll remember you. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use Safari. So I'm going to come out of here. And sorry about that. Didn't mean to do that. Create a new window. Okay, and then I'm going to go to codeacademy.com. Let's try this again. And again, sorry for the network. It's just been acting really funny. It just happened to start a minute before we started all this. Just my luck. Okay, I'm going to come down here to HTML and CSS. Okay. And right here, we're going to come down to Introduction to HTML. And we're going to click on this one, the first one. We're going to do this together. However, for your assignment for tonight, it's to complete both this lesson and the lesson below, which is HTML basics and build your own web page. Okay, it's essentially the exact same thing I went through in my video, but I'm going to start you off. Okay, I'm going to start you off, and I'm going to show you how to go through about it. Again, you don't need to sign up for Code Academy in order to do this. It will remember you through cookies, though. So it remembers you by the different time by your browser. And so even if you don't sign up, it'll remember where you are, which is great. Which is why we didn't use my other. We didn't go through Chrome in order to do this. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start HTML basics, fundamentals of HTML. And I'm going to go through the first couple activities with you. Okay. It gives you, in Code Academy, it gives you the different ways you're supposed to, it gives you the different ways you're supposed to go about doing the activities. And so again, you start here, each lesson starts here to the left. Okay, and it gives you an exclamation right here. Not an exclamation, an explanation, sorry. This is where you enter your code. This is your editor. And right here, this is where you see what it does. Okay, so this is what people would see on a website if you were actually to do it that way. And so I'm going to go and click next. This is where you submit your code. Okay, so why learn HTML? Every web page you look at is written in a language called HTML. We all know this already. We've gone through this pretty much. In the editor to the right, there's a tab called Test HTML. This is the tab that they're talking about. This is the file we'll type our HTML into. See the code with the brackets? See this bracket right here? Right? We already went through this, all the brackets that we did in the video, right? When we press save and submit code, the result tab will act like an internet browser. So right here, this is what it's going to look like when we submit the code. It's going to show up here. It also does show up here while you type in as well. Okay. We're going to go to the instructions now. Okay, to get us started on this activity. To the right, we have test HTML file. That's what we have right here. Okay, change the text on line 2. This is line 2. The bit between strong and slash and backslash strong. Now, strong is essentially it's a type of heading which means bold, right? And we're going to change it to something. It's asking us to change it to anything we like. So we're going to go between these two strong tags or strong elements. So I'm going to go to hi. Welcome to Nick's CS sampler HTML page. Right. Hit save and submit code, and you'll see how the test HTML file would look in a browser. Did you see that? The strong tags made your text bold. Okay, this is what it looks like. It says way to go. When I have the green button here, that means I did it correctly. Okay, so we're going to go to the next activity, next lesson. Again, we already know this. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Okay, I'm not going to go through this entire thing. We also have CSS, which is Cascading Style Sheets. Okay, that comes a little bit later. After you know HTML and you get the code down, and you understand how it functions. HTML acts like the skeleton. When you do cascading style sheets, which we'll probably get into, we won't get into this lesson or this session because it gets a little complicated and I wanted some more time and we're actually running out of time, unfortunately. But CSS acts like the clothing. Think, or the skin, right? HTML is the skeleton and CSS are your Air Jordans and your Gucci shirts and whatnot, okay? It makes your website look nice and makes it interact differently with the user, okay? So now we're gonna go to the instructions. We'll skip all this. It's essentially exactly what I said. What I explained to you right now. But we're just gonna go to the instructions and see what we can do here. Okay, go ahead and put the 3 lines mentioned above in test.html, which is now blank, right? Okay, so it's asking us right here, put doc type HTML. So I'm gonna put okay. And then we're going to put HTML. You always start an HTML document with that, and then always put HTML on the last line. Okay, so this, and when you put the I'm sorry, backslash HTML on the last line, on the last line, slash HTML. Right. So I'll go ahead and press right here, and I'll take this down to the 3rd line. Okay, so whatever I'm going to put between this content, any content I'm going to put between these 2 tags is going to show up. Okay. And it's asking me, so I did this. I went ahead and I put the 3 lines mentioned, which is, and right now it's asking me in between the second and last line, between the HTML and the HTML, between the 2 HTML tags, right here. We're gonna write whatever we like. So I'm gonna write whatever I like. Okay, whatever I like. Yay. And here it comes here. Here's my editor, and here's what it's gonna look like on my website. See, and I did this. Yes, great. Okay, so that's what it asked for. Okay, and our last one. Okay, and in our last activity for today. Okay, we're going to go through the basic terminology. This is the 3rd activity within the basics lesson of HTML. Okay, to learn more HTML, we should learn how to talk about HTML. Are you ready to see when we use brackets a lot? Things inside brackets are called tags, right? Tags nearly always come in pairs, an opening tag and a closing tag. We also call them elements, so you'll hear them used interchangeably, so don't get too confused. Okay, just how we had the HTML tag in the beginning and the backslash HTML tag also, which ends it. Okay, you can think of these tags as being like parentheses. Whenever you open one, you should close it. Tags also nest. You should also close them in the right order. The most recently closed tag should be the first one closed, like an example below. First tag, second tag. Right. Right. So first tag, second tag, content, second tag, and then first tag. The last exercise taught us how to set up our HTML file. Every thing we do now will come between HTML and these 2 tags, HTML and backslash HTML. Okay, so we're going to go and quickly put doc type slash HTML. Right. Then we're going to go ahead and go into part number 2. HTML push, right? And closing tags. It's asking us to write whatever we want again. So blah, 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 blah. Right? Now again, I'm going to close it off, just like we did before. I have to make sure I have my black slash. Oh, sorry, wrong one. It's different. Right, so it's essentially the same tag as the same activity we did before. It's just telling us a different. These are called tags now. The doc type, you don't ever have to close this off in the beginning though. This doc type / HTML. This is just there for the editor, and it tells the editor or the other person who's going to be writing or looking at your code what type of doc this is, and that it's actually HTML. You don't ever have to close this off. This is not necessarily a tag or an element. Only these two are the elements or the tags within this particular document. So I'm going to save and submit code, and I'm good to go. So we're going to stop right here. Again, please continue on by yourself within this in this lesson, and go on to the next one when you're done. Again, we're going to go back to this lesson. It's going to actually save. It's saved where we started. You see, that's a good thing. See, I can come back and I continue from here if I'd like. I can't, because the internet acted slow. I had to go all the way. I had to go around. I had to go back to the home page. But you'll see it's saved. I've done 21% of the HTML basics. We'd like you to continue on and finish this, and eventually go in to build your own web page, right? Which won't take you that long. This whole thing will take you about 15 to 30 minutes, depending how quickly you get it. But it shouldn't take you that much. It shouldn't take you really all that long. This is, again, yeah, sandwiches. This is the name of the website they'd like you to make. And again, the instructions for this are in your course, okay? Again, we'd like you to please finish, right? Complete HTML basics and build your own web page on Codecademy, and take screenshots of the final lesson window for both and upload them here. Okay, again, take a screenshot of the final lesson window for both and upload here. When you're done with that as well, or if you can do this in the beginning as well, if you like, please do our exit ticket. Tell us what you know, what you learned, and how in some ways that you could possibly utilize this within your class. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties in the beginning. We hope you enjoyed this session on HTML. And we hope you're having a good summer and you're having a good time with the sampler. Have a great rest of your Monday, and we'll be talking soon. Thank you so much. Thank you.